Ryan Fitzpatrick, an 11-year guy, a Harvard guy, that's smelling the playoffs for the first time really in his career. I think that he is really a guy on a mission because it's something that he would like to be a part of, and I think this is really his best opportunity to be a part of the playoffs, and so I think that you're going to get your best effort from the Jets on Sunday. I don't think there's any question about that. It's also the last home game for the Jets this year, so I would be shocked if they showed up and, frankly, laid an egg. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, they can't lay an egg, especially with the new regime that they have. There's no clown show going on, well, except in Buffalo, but we'll talk about that at a future show. Josh?
Yeah, the Jets are a team that actually is pretty good on offense, not like the years past where they've struggled. Brandon Marshall has been playing really good lately, and Derek Decker hasn't been playing bad at all either. He's almost at 1,000 yards receiving, and Marshall's over 1,200 already this year, and Chris Ivory's had a good run, and Powell. I mean, they've had a decent year on offense, and then their defense is one of the better ones in the league, and unfortunately the Jets are going to give New England everything they want to handle this week, and they have a lot of reasons to because they don't want to miss the playoffs. So New England better be prepared for the Jets this week.
I do think that the front seven of the Patriots is going to be challenged based on the ability of the Jets to run the ball and to throw the ball. They've got to get in Ryan Fitzpatrick's face and make life miserable for him. If they can do it, then I think this could be a bit more of an easier day than we think. But if they can't, this could be a very difficult afternoon. And on the flip side, you've got Muhammad Wilkinson, who's having a big year with sacks for that Jet front seven. And we know that the Patriot offensive line from time to time has that difficulty with dominating pass rushers, and Wilkinson can certainly fit into that category. So I think the line of scrimmage is where this game potentially will either be won or lost by either team.
And Josh, you mentioned the defense of the Jets, and obviously we all know about Calvin Pryor in the front seven, which we just talked about. I think he's in the midst of a breakout season, and he seems to be preventing a touchdown and making a play just about every game. Living here in New York, I watch a lot of the Jets games, and if the Patriots games aren't on, and I think they'd be 7-7 or 6-8 if not for Calvin Pryor, which that really means something. Darrelle Revis, who we all know, we don't have to talk about it because we've talked about it a million times. You've heard it a million times. Yeah, Malcolm Butler and all this stuff. Outside of the Texans game, he's been Darrelle Revis. There's been a few times where he's gotten burned. He's gotten burned against Pierre Garçon, and he has had a few other games where he's been mismatched a little bit. But he totally locked up Des Bryant in their game on last Saturday night against the Cowboys. And he seems to be only slightly worse than the Rex-era Revis. So what do you think about the Jets defense, especially their secondary, and how do you think that the Patriots, who might be, I'm not going to say a little undermanned, they'll be a lot undermanned this week, especially if guys who, even though they're showing up for practice this week, like we talked about earlier in the show, and especially since it was a walkthrough, we all know that when you're at a walkthrough, usually that means that you're going to be in the game plan. You're going to be implementing the game plan. But if that doesn't happen, that means that the Patriots are going to have a lot of trouble passing the football. So, Josh, how do you think that they'll be able to eradicate that?
New England needs to avoid throwing the ball towards Marcus Williams because that guy has 6 interceptions this year. And Brady, I think we need to focus on getting James White involved in the game. That's really what I think. And try to keep Brady needs to not put it in the hands of Brandon LaFell and some of the guys who haven't been performing all that. Although LaFell played good last week, I'll give him credit for that. But I worry about their secondary, actually, because it's pretty good. And Gilchrist, Pryor, and Marcus Williams and Revis, all those guys, they're pretty good. And then they have their linebacker group with David Harris and isn't Davis hurt, I think? I don't remember. I don't follow just enough. But there's definitely a lot of talent on their defense and a lot of chances for turnovers if we don't protect Brady from Wilkerson and avoid the interceptions. I think that's the key.
John, I'm going to start.
I agree. I think James White is a key here. I think that if they can use him out of the backfield in the passing game and maybe, force the Jets to have to make some decisions with their linebackers and with their secondary, that it might open up some opportunities down the field with wide receivers. So I do think that James White is going to be a potential focal point of the passing attack, in the hopes that by getting him the football and getting him out in space, that they can open up other things as the game rolls along.
All right. Well, John, people tend to forget that this game was razor close through much of the way, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter that the Patriots got a little breathing room, but was mostly taken away at the end. We know Rob Gronkowski had the game-winning touchdown, and I think the Patriots can and should do better versus this team this time. So that being said, I told you I don't predict the games. I'll let you guys do that. So, John, you're up first. Go ahead.
I think this would be a close game from start to finish, but I do think the Patriots win, say, 24-21.
Josh?
Oh, God. Something tells me the Jets are going to win. And I have a lot of reasons to believe this, but, I'm going to pick the Jets, and I don't know why. 21-20.
If I had my booing sound effect, I would get it out right now. I'll do myself, boo, boo.
Well, I just have
What are you thinking, man?
Look, I think one of the reasons why Josh Brett's going that way is, let's face it, the Jets have a lot to play for here. The Patriots have something to play for, but it's not nearly as important as the Jets do. I mean, the Patriots are in either way, whereas the Jets are still someone on the outside looking in. So there's a lot for them to play for. And I do think the other aspect of this is going to be the Jets are going to be doing some scoreboard watching as well. And if that Pittsburgh game in Baltimore, if that starts to get one-sided toward Pittsburgh, for instance, you might see a bit of a shift in attitude, which may eventually help the Pats as well.
That's right, because, if they see Pittsburgh going on a run, then that might lose focus. And you see
I think both teams are starting at the same time, too, I think. I think they're both 1 o'clock games.
Yeah, and by the way, it was a little bit closer to not happening because CBS actually was able to take that away from the NBC because they tried to get this game flexed, and that didn't happen. TBS was like, heck no. And thank goodness for that, because my psyche, I cannot take another late night game. Same games should stay at 1 o'clock, and it will. So thank goodness for that.
That's what happens when you have a good football team. They're going to end up playing night games.
I think New England will lose this game because I just think the Jets have more to play for here than the Patriots. And the other thing is New England has a lack of talent at wide receiver in this coming into this game, and the Jets have an abundance of talent in the secondary. So I just wonder how Brady's going to throw the ball in this game. It's not like when we play them. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Josh, it makes you a point about James White.
Yeah, James White needs to be involved, or else it's going to be a lot of issues.
Now, Josh, I was booing you earlier, but I do see what you mean, because we're not talking about a Rex Ryan coach team here. This Todd Bowles, this team is very disciplined. I believe that they've only been penalized, 84 times throughout the 14 games. That's 4 less than the Patriots, I think. And they're fourth in fewest penalty yards as well. So they're very disciplined. They're very savvy. I think they have +8 or +9 in turnovers. So there are a lot of factors that go for the Jets here. But I just can't do it. I just can't pick against the Patriots here.
Well,
Josh, I guess the
other thing they have going for them is they're the home team. They're the home team. That's the one thing we didn't mention that we probably should mention. They are the home team in this game. So,
so I guess you're expecting that the Patriots, they need to win one out of the two. So you're expecting them to win against Miami.
Oh yeah. I think. And look, if I'm wrong, I don't mind. I don't mind, but I do think the Jets will win for some reason. I just have this feeling.
Okay.
You do wonder, with the job that Todd Bowles has done, you do wonder how many votes he's going to get for Coach of the Year in the AFC, because I do think he's done a very good job with that roster and putting them in the position that they are. Even if they eventually don't make the playoffs, you do wonder how much credit he's going to get for, in some ways, revitalizing that football team and putting them back into relevance when it comes to the division.
He's an amazing coach. He is a great coach, and he's done a great job with the Jets, and he's just done everything right with that team this year, and it's impressive, even though I hate the Jets. I mean, you got to respect I think there's a whole different attitude on that team. When you look at the contrast between Rex Ryan coach Jets and Todd Bowles coach Jets, there's definitely a big difference, if you ask me. And just look at Buffalo too right now, how their season's going. They're a lot of talk, but not a lot of results.
And that brings us to our last segment, which, Josh, you're the king of segues, man. You should be doing this because we usually do the Patriots Phone of the Zen here where we laugh at opponents, but I think that we should, while we laugh at our opponents, we should also give credit to the unsung heroes, the Patriots players who have not got a lot of credit from maybe us, from maybe the national media, from maybe anybody who you might listen to. So, and since it's the holiday season, we're going to call this present or lump of coal. So I'm going to start it off. I think that the present, for me, I'm going to hand out a present to Akeem Hicks. And, well, actually, I'm going to give this to the whole front four. You all get presents because of the Patriots. And whether that's Jimmy Collins, whether that's Dante Hightower, whether it's guys like Jalen Jones, Jabal Sheard, who has been the pickup, I think, of the season in the entire league. I think they've all been on it all season long, and as we talked about, they lead the league in sacks, and they deserve it. The lump of coal obviously goes to the Buffalo Bills, like you talked about. It's amazing the way they hired Rex Ryan. They thought that, we talked about it in week 2, how they wanted Tom Brady, and he torched them. I think that it's so indicative of Rex Ryan, and people think that he's a good coach, and yes, he's a good defensive coach, but I think that he really needs to be quiet. I hope that this season has humbled him, and I hope that he stays up there because that means the Bills will be bad for 10 more years to come. John, who do you think should get a present from the Patriots side of things, and who do you think gets a lump of coal in the division?
Well, I think the present should go to the secondary, actually. I mean, if you go back to training camp, and all the talk was about Revis not being around and Brandon Brown not being around, and how the secondary was going to be able to plug the holes that those two guys all of a sudden were going to create. I think that secondary has done a fine job of suggesting that they could get the job done without those two guys around. So I think the secondary deserves presence. And the coal, to me, would go to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they spent an awful lot of money in the offseason getting Sue away from Detroit and putting him in the middle of that defense and suggesting that they were now primed and ready to give the Patriots a run for their money for the division. It hasn't worked out. So, and there's been a coaching change as well. There looks like there'll be another one when the season comes to an end. I think the Miami Dolphins deserve the coal this year.
All right, well,
what are your choices?
If I'm giving coal out to any team in the NFL this year, I would give it to the Indianapolis Colts because this is a team that had absolutely zero people invited to the Pro Bowl. They spent a lot of money in the offseason on offense, and they're amongst one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And no fault to, Hasselbeck. And I mean, Luck did get hurt, and he kind of was just thrown out there. But and their offensive line's terrible. So, yeah, it goes to the Colts, no doubt, for me. And if I have to give a present to somebody on the Patriots, I would give it to one player only because I think he's the one guy that no one expected to be the man he is, the player he is this year, and that would be Logan Ryan because he single-handedly is, to me, the most important turnaround player on New England this season.
And I think the biggest present of all goes to one Mr. Thomas Edward Brady. I think he's been through so much this entire calendar year of 2015, and hopefully he'll get his present 2 months in advance or 2 months prior to. So, God willing.
How ironic is it that when you look at the Pro Bowl voting, who's the one guy that's getting the most votes?
Tom Brady.
Go figure.
Exactly. How ironic is that?
I know the NFL and Roger Goodell must be fuming at the bit so he saw that list come out. All right, so guys, that's about it. Well, first of all, I want to say happy holidays and thank you all listeners for supporting the show. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. We thank you all so much for listening. The last 2 months have been amazing as far as listenership is concerned, and we hope it continues throughout 2016 because the Patriots are obviously continuing on to 2016. So we hope you stay with us throughout that. And while you're here, you might as well go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Flying Elvis Faithful. You can check out everything we post up there. I post some pictures up there of I posted a picture of the Tom Brady signed picture that I won from @Patriots on Twitter. I think I did that last week, but I have to mention it again because it's valuable. And we also post a lot of articles, and we post a lot of news, and we're going to start posting our shows on there, and hopefully in a better and much more streamlined manner so that you can get to our shows. So visit us at our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Elvis and you can visit us all on Twitter. I'm at AtomicDog22. John is at Radio Doucette, and Josh is at Joshing_me. And next week we're going to hopefully be talking about nothing really. We'll be talking about the Miami Dolphins, but hopefully we'll be able to say that the Patriots will be at Gillette Stadium for the foreseeable future. So with that, I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Keep it safe out there. And guys, first I want to say thank you guys. So you guys make this show what it is. And John, thank you for coming.